Okay, hey everyone, welcome to the Social Club. If you are joining us and you are here, obviously, let us know where you're coming from, what company you're representing, even if it's just you. Let's get the chat popping. Let's get talking in the chat. We're so excited to have you here today. We're just gonna take a few moments to wait for people to get in the chat room here. Um, yeah, we're excited. I'm from Canada. Is anyone from Canada joining us today?
Oh, there's a Toronto, Alicia.
Hey! Yeah, the six. Nice.
Christine from Dallas. Nice.
Poland. Okay.
Poland. Lauren, Charlotte.
Awesome. Toronto as well.
Another
Wow, we have a lot of
Toronto.
Toronto girlies and people. I don't know. Yeah.
Montreal. We might have to have a Toronto social media meetup. A
I like
social
that plan.
social club in-person club meeting.
I really like that plan because I feel like working remotely and just being able to connect with social media pros would be awesome.
Oh, Christina, you know what we forgot is to show off the swag or do anything with the swag this time.
Oh, yeah, we have some awesome swag coming up. It is being currently delivered to Eric and I, and we will be wearing it for the next Social Club.
Do you have
So,
it handy? The screen share? Sorry to
oh,
put you on the spot. Maybe
I'm
just
gonna,
pull it
I'm
up on the
excited.
side. If it's too long, we won't waste a ton of time. Well, why don't you look for that while
Yeah.
I do a little bit of housekeeping here. So we'll look to get started pretty soon. Yeah, we're a few minutes past, so we can just dive in. So welcome everybody to another social club conversation. I'm joined by Christina, who is going to co-host this with me. We'll do some quick intros of ourselves in a second here. But before that, just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. One, this webinar is being recorded, so you will get this in your inbox tomorrow or end of day. The full recording, we post these to YouTube, so you can rewatch them, you can share them with anybody who wasn't able to attend. Anybody who registered for the webinar will also get the recording in their inbox, even if they're not here. So yeah, drop comments in the chat. This is meant to be interactive. You can see where everyone's from. Please feel free to drop your LinkedIn as well. We've heard that there's been a lot of good connections that happen after these calls offline, where people talk one-on-one about social and strategy. It's meant to be a place where social media practitioners, people interested in the space, can basically come together, learn, discuss, vent, all of those things. So please ask questions during this conversation. It's not meant to be a formal panel. We're all just talking shop here, and you're a part of that. So use the chat to ask questions. Also use the Q&A section. What we try to do is if you put your question in the Q&A, we'll kind of assume that you're open to being off mute to ask your question. It's not on camera, it's just off mute. And we would basically call you out and have you come off mute and actually introduce yourself, say where you're from, say what you do, and ask your question. Christina will try to message you on the side to just make sure you're comfortable with that, with the questions we want to ask. But yeah, keep that in mind. We'd love to have people just basically join us on stage in a way and ask questions, and that's been really interactive. So high level, this is what we're calling our mid-year vibe check. I think we're just before the halfway point of the year, but it's been kind of a crazy year in social media. I guess every year is crazy in social media, but this year feels particularly chaotic, with TikTok going dark, with AI blowing up. I would say some brands are getting more unhinged than ever. There's a lot of weird, fun, crazy stuff happening in this world. And we wanted to just kind of take a deep breath, check in, what's happened so far this year that's met our expectations, what hasn't, and what are we looking for in the second half of the year. So I'll start with a quick intro and then pass it to Christina. But if you don't know me, I'm Eric. I'm co-founder of Slate. I used to run social media at the 49ers and then the NFL and left to start Slate, which is a content creation platform for social teams. Our mission is to make content creation effortless for social media teams who want to stay on brand and create content quickly and easily across platforms. And Christina, our newest employee, I'll pass it to you for a quick intro.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I actually, during, excuse me, during my first month, I actually got to host a Social Club and it was so fun. I loved it. So I'm back. I'm the content manager at Slate, and I think I'm entering my third month now. So it's been a really good time. I've loved connecting with social media pros. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm currently meeting with as many social media pros as possible to like pick your brains about the world of marketing. So yeah, it's been a great time, and I love being here. It's so fun.
Amazing. Cool. Well, let's not linger any longer and let's get our expert panelists onto the stage. So let's start with Nathan Allebach, who's the social media lead at Ramp. ChatGPT says he's the mind behind some of the internet's most surprisingly deep brand voices, strategic, sharp, and occasionally existential on main, which I don't understand what that means, but Nathan, would you like to unmute and introduce yourself to the audience here?
Yeah, existential dude pulling in. So thank you all so much for having me. I think they pulled that from an old thread I wrote for Steakum back in 2017, which got some media headlines talking about the brand being existential. Um, Hilarious, and I guess yeah, somewhat accurate. So happy to be here. I'm based just outside of Philadelphia, current social media lead for the fintech company Ramp, which combines corporate cards, expense management, and a bunch of other finance ops software. So yeah, stoked to chat all things social with y'all.
Woo.
Vince in the chat said frozen beef sheets in the Heezy. Can you explain? This seems like an exciting.
Yes, I mean like for those who don't know, Steakum, this brand that I used to manage, it is like a literal sheet of freezer meat. It's like a condensed piece of 100% beef, which it is, but it's like a very thin product that you sizzle and you cook it up into Philly cheesesteaks. So it's like you can make a Philly cheesesteak at home. So when I ran the brand, I coined the term frozen beef sheets. Thought that was just like a memey way of describing it, and yeah, it kind of stuck, I guess.
Don't you love
That's
when you
awesome.
create something and it gets to it just carries on past your time? It's incredible.
Yeah, just gotta play. You just gotta lean into the silliness
Yeah.
sometimes of a product. So it worked.
We had some funny stories on the Social Club of like random accounts people have managed. Not to disparage Steakums and call them random, but I hadn't heard about it until now.
It's a
Okay,
yeah, it's a somewhat yeah kind of
Vince
esoteric
name.
old school brand. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Okay, cool. So the next guest we're bringing on, good friend of mine, good friend of Slate, longtime customer and advocate for us, Becca Genecov from the Dallas Mavericks. She runs social for an NBA team, according to ChatGPT, and it's not for the faint of heart. Becca's got courtside instincts and a content game to match. Becca, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience here?
Hi, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, you're
Okay.
good.
Hi, everyone. I am Becca Genecov. I am the senior social media manager of the Dallas Mavericks. This upcoming season, next season will be my 10th in the NBA. I worked for the Knicks for 3 seasons, and this will be my 7th season working with the Mavs. And so you could say that I am a veteran, even though I do look like I am fresh out of college, but but I've been obviously we've had a very interesting season, and just excited to talk social. And if you guys have any appropriate questions for me, I am happy to answer them.
Amazing. Thanks for joining us, Becca. And last but definitely not least, we're going to bring Nycole Hampton onto the stage. ChatGPT says she is a seasoned strategist who's seen every trend come and go and isn't afraid to call out the BS. Smart, direct, and always on point. Nycole, can you live up to that AI introduction?
I definitely call out the BS, so I feel like it it got me there. No, that feels, I mean, hey, I'll pat myself on the back. That felt like a nice one. Hi everyone. So excited to be here today and maybe call out some BS as we go. But I've been in the marketing space for 20 years, social really since the beginning. I'm currently a consultant. building, you know, social influencer and content infrastructures across all channels. And I'm also an adjunct professor, so I actually teach social. So I'm really in it, still nerding out many, many years later. So happy to be here.
Woohoo.
Amazing. Well,
So,
Christine, I'll pass it off to
yeah.
you to kick it off because I know you had a fun start you wanted to get underway.
Yeah, I feel like it's always fun to start with some rapid fire questions because we want to get to know a little bit about how you think about social. So I'm going to start us off with a nice and spicy one. It's not that spicy, actually. I don't know why I said that. I just felt like being dramatic. What is a niche corner of the internet you've secretly been obsessed with lately? And if you don't have an answer, I do have one, but I'll let you start. A niche corner of the internet, maybe your algorithm is taking you somewhere that you never expected. What is something that you've been loving online?
I'll start. I don't know if it's a corner of the internet, but I found this local business on TikTok that is based out of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and it's called The Silly Goose. And it's just like this small shop that a guy runs, and he's actually just phenomenal at making video content. He's very quirky and strange, and the algorithm just keeps feeding his stuff to me because I am the algorithm and I keep watching it. So yeah, it's been entertaining and I love just like stumbling on like little small business accounts that it's kind of like delight, surprise and delight, like, you know, based in contrast to a lot of like the bigger stuff that we typically see. So yeah, not necessarily like a niche corner, I guess, but a niche piece of content.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Mine is similar. Mukbangs
Yes.
are what keep finding me, and they are fascinating. I sometimes even think I've eaten dinner after watching them. So yeah, that's obviously not healthy, but it's actually it's intoxicating. So love mukbangs.
Yeah.
I'm going totally outside of what everyone has done. I am an obsessed Threads user, and I feel like my niche corner of the world has been dating conversations because they're crazy. Either you're going through them or you're reading other people's. Yeah, it's like my little like reality TV on Threads.
Love that. Guilty pleasure almost. Yeah.
Mhm.
Eric, what about you?
Mine's I don't know if it's that niche, but it's a total different part of the internet that I hadn't been exposed to. So I just had my first kid 3 months ago. So new dad life. So I'm just getting exposed to like parent talk, like young millennial parent talk, which is like this whole content beast in and of itself that was completely invisible to me until now. And now it's something that, you know, I can't get away from. It's like all over my feeds. And it's been nice. Like it's nice to, you know, you have like different content to like relate to and share with people in that world. So, but it's just funny. It's like you step into this phase of life and all of a sudden the algorithm exposes this new thing to you that you're like, oh, this is a world that now I'm a part of.
Yeah. Sometimes it knows you so well, it's kind of terrifying. But yeah, chat. If you're interested in telling us what you've been into, we'd love to know. For me, it's been tinned fish reviews. I just learned about this today, okay? This guy literally just eats different kinds of tinned fish. And I like sardines, which is weird, but like super, like the things that you could do with content is mind blowing. So that's me. Uh,
Dude, 10 fish rules. That's great.
Really, I'm glad you like it, Nathan. Okay, we'll do another one. What are one things brands are doing right now that you think they should stop doing or that are annoying or frustrating to you?
I'll kick this off. I'll kick this one off if possible, but especially in the sports world, what we're seeing that we really like kind of ticks us off is at least our team is just absolutely not having uh, a real identity on TikTok. And some teams just kind of post these things that nobody understands. It's maybe like a very niche part of the community that understands, but like to the consumer or to someone that is there for like, sports highlights or storytelling or humanizing of the players, et cetera. And it's just, uh, what was that little hippo name? What was his
Wu
name?
Tang.
Yes. And just like, that started, and obviously he was cute and everything, but at the beginning, everyone was like, what is this? And who is this? And why is he speaking? And, all this kind of stuff. And just like and I know this is a topic for later, but obviously like AI comes into there too. But it's just like ruthless, just videos of just absolutely nothing. And so that really ticks us off. So
I have one that might piss off some of the marketers in the chat. But I guess there's maybe two prongs to it. Like I think we're past the point of inundation of brands commenting on random TikToks for comment clout, which I think it's when done well, it's like done, it can be clever and like on brand and feel great. But I think like 90 plus, if not 95+% of what I see in the wild, it's just like Gen Z slang thrown in for just like, boosting numbers and visibility, which I totally get. Like we're all playing the game of, you gotta hit those KPIs or whatever. But I think it's getting to a point where like I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to soon enter like a silence brand 2.0 era, just because it feels like when TikTok came on the scene, there was not the same sort of I guess attack on brands as a lot of personified brands felt on Twitter in years prior. Like the youth for whatever reason just kind of embraced brands on TikTok like right away. But it feels like we're quickly approaching a point where people are gonna get some backlash, I think, for that.
Yeah, it's actually really frustrating to go to a TikTok that's viral and then like look in the comment section and like the whole comment section is brands, which is like used to be fun, but now I'm just like I want to see what people are actually saying,
Yeah. And
not
it can
what
still be
legal is
funny.
approving.
It's just like I feel like a lot of them are just really low effort, like, oh, we just spotted a viral video. How do we just jump in and make our way to the top? And like you do that enough times for enough brands and people will start to reject it. So I mean, I don't know. Sort of inevitable, I guess, in the trajectory of things, but yeah.
That's good. And Nycole, we'll end with you.
Yeah, I would actually say huge ditto on that one. I was absolutely going to say that. I think it's just kind of brands checking a box that they think people want to see, and I feel like that's just getting a little old.
Cool.
Levitate.
Okay. And then we'll do our last. Actually, Eric, did you want to say one? Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, I have a strong opinion on this one as well. Uh, I think the I think too many brands, and it is tied to everything I think everyone is saying in a certain way here. I think too many brands feel the pressure to try to be unhinged on social media to like it's like the Duolingo if Wendyfication of social. And the reason those accounts work is because they're like different. And if everybody starts doing that, it doesn't become different anymore. It becomes like that's what brand social is. And yeah, they've made a lot of noise doing that, which is great, but that doesn't mean every brand should be that. It really needs to match your brand. Yeah, go ahead, Becca.
yeah, I'll never forget something that you shared a while ago on LinkedIn that really like spoke to me, and I actually shared it with my team as well. When it like piggybacking off of this, like it was like some like infographic slash meme where it was like how do brands decide to jump on a trend and all that, and then everyone's on it, so then it's not trendy anymore and things like that. And so I think that kind of like filters into kind of the same thing, like if we're all going to be unhinged, then it's not unhinged anymore, and it's not special, and it's not funny. And so I think like honestly, like our day to day is a ton of like fighting that, right? Like what do we jump on? What do we not jump on? Everybody's jumping on this. Does it make sense? Like all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to chime in on that because that's something that you shared a bit ago, and that's always just stuck with us. And so I feel like that's very similar.
Totally. Yeah. Brand social media we're parents on social. So as soon as we start trying to overdo it, everyone's going to be like, yeah, this isn't cool anymore. We're going to go over here. Okay, cool. So that was anything but rapid fire, Christina, but I'll give you a
Yeah,
pass
I
on.
know. We always try and then people have so much to say, but that's totally fine. That's great.
Well, let's kick off the topic about this year in social. We've already covered some of it, but I guess just like starting from the top, what has surprised us this year in social media in the first half of the year, and what has kind of met our expectations? Nathan, I'll start with you. I'm curious, just big picture. Yeah, going into the year, what was something you were like, yeah, this is what I expected, and what's something that you're like, wow, I can't believe it went this way, and this has kind of changed how I look at social media today.
Yeah, I guess the one that I didn't expect as much was the prevalence of LinkedIn. I mean, I've felt this coming for a couple years, like since the big changes that happened in Twitter or X years ago. Like I remember a lot of sort of like colleagues switching over to LinkedIn and other platforms just to try to get their voice out there in like the text-based content. But it really does feel like the past year LinkedIn has really taken off, not just in the marketing community, but just kind of like more broadly for brands committing time to kind of build there, which I think has been cool to see and to participate in, just because it's obviously like a much more targeted network than a lot of these other platforms where you don't necessarily know who you're reaching on like Twitter or TikTok. It might be kids, it might be anonymous profiles. And then like for the expected one, I would say kind of both of these are a little expected and unexpected. Like again, I think everybody's been talking about AI for years now. Like it's been like sort of the trend line for news pieces to be like, oh, this new AI thing, it's gonna change the world, blah blah. Like we've been hearing this for years, but this has been the year where it's been very, very apparent across brands and content in the consumer world as well, where it just feels like, man, like it's crazy to see just like the sheer use adoption from brands and people. Like I honestly expected, like we're seeing blowback, but I expected there to be a lot more of that from users, especially, but it feels like it's just spread like wildfire. So that's been interesting to see. So they're kind of like both expected and unexpected, I guess, based on the scale of adoption for both trends.
That's great. Yeah, we hired Christina because of LinkedIn.
That's right. It can get you opportunities, okay, folks? If you think LinkedIn is a platform you shouldn't consider, I would say you're wrong.
Becca, we'll toss it to you. Curious what so far this year has met your expectations, and what so far this year has surprised you in your world of social media.
I think my answer is probably going to be expected. The fact that TikTok got to stick around a little longer was I honestly, and my team, if they're listening and they're on here, I'm not sure if y'all are, but I was literally telling them, they were all freaking out. What do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, guys, it's going to be back. Like, don't worry. Like this is too large and that's kind of what I have to say, but I did believe it. And of course, we were back within 24 hours. So I was like really, really impressed with how, and also it really showed like what a community TikTok is. I know we've been saying that through COVID and all that kind of stuff, but like TikTok is really a place to learn and to connect and all these things. And I know like even my boss is like TikTok is silly and all this stuff, but like when you're a brand that really relies on TikTok for your we have a voice and we have a specific representation that we show up on this platform than we do on others, that works for us, that locks us in the third spot in the league every month. So like that's important to us. And so I was very, very pleased and very very happy that came back to us as a brand. Not sure what the future holds, but we 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 are just like very, very happy that, that's back. My other thing that I'm really surprised with is, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, I'm sure you have, but like how Threads has really pushed through in like directly in Instagram in your notifications, and it says like a thread you might like or something like that. And honestly, that got me a little bit more connected to Threads, which I was really happy about, because I've only seen myself really go, be talked about on Threads rather than see it like be like something that is and Nycole, I love that you are very vocal on Threads and have a good presence there, because it really has, I've seen how much it has grown and how much it has had really a voice and a different voice than, X or any of those platforms. So that was something I was really pleased by and really surprised that I kind of got looped more into.
That's great. Yeah, Nycole, tell us what your thoughts are. Was anything with Threads surprising to you? Is that part of it for you? I know that's kind of a platform you stand for, as the kids would say.
It is. Yeah, I'm a total nerd. I think with Threads, I've been excited to see brands kind of jumping on. I know it's one of those things where you don't have a ton of data when you first started. We're getting more and more, but I think it's nice to see people just spending time and showing up where their customers are. We know a lot of people all, jumped off X. So just kind of meeting people where they went to, I think is so important. So I've loved seeing that. I think we, more and more would be great. Not more and more ads, which we're starting to see, but more and more brands. I think the thing that I've been really excited to see this year that I knew was coming, but didn't know it would be, as much, is seeing social become more of like out of home, more part of TV ads, just taking social outside of social, whether it's the learnings you get from it or literally seeing, social commentary or really nicely connected, campaigns and opportunities. So social has so much opportunity. Let's keep breaking it out of the silo.
Totally. That's great. Okay, we got a question into the Q&A. Joe, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience and ask your question for Becca?
Sure. Thanks very much, Eric. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Excellent. So my question is directed to Becca. In some ways, I suspect that you might have had the hardest social media job in the past year. What's been the most challenging aspect of your job since Luca's departure? How have you been doing? Any stories?
Yeah, I'll keep it to the work part of it. But I will say that regardless of any feelings towards the trade, I won't be commenting on any of that. But how our job has changed. It just like you said, it's been very difficult. Honestly, if you follow us and like who we are and what we stand for and how we direct our or connect with our fans on a daily basis, that was probably the toughest part, is that we have a funny, quippy, we respond back quickly. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And our identity changed for for a couple of months, and we're slowly trying to pick back up to get into that. But I will say a lot of Luca content did our work for us. We put out a video of him doing a trick shot that gets 12 million views, and we're chilling. Like we really don't have to think about much else. Which I know sounds silly, but it's if you're in our position, that really you would understand. But really, our fans are angry, and we had to cater to the fact that they were angry and not be tone deaf on our social media channels, and double down on things being said in the media, and double down on things being said, out there that was negative, because we were really trying to just like hoard the last, kind of positive things that we could. We capitalize. One of my biggest things that I tell my team and that I'm like very sold on is capitalizing on the moment. So, whatever moment we could really hold on to for as long as we could, whether that was AD and Max joining us. It was AD's debut. It was AD's second debut, Kyrie making the All-Star game, things like that, finding the positive in the things that were happening. And then now, as you guys probably know, we have the #1 pick in the draft. So even more so that, we're really excited to get back into who we are as a team. And maybe that's without Luka, but now we will have a new franchise player coming in, whoever that may be. And we get to build around him like we did with Luka. And it really gives us a kind of a second chance and a second lifeline to do that. And so get excited to watch us during the draft, because we're going to have a lot of good stuff coming. And these people in this place, I know we may have not earned it per se, but we deserve it. So we're very excited to kind of get back into our identity, if that answers some of your question.
Yeah, great answer, Becca. Actually, Christina, why don't we bring Matthew on, because I was going to just add some color to that as well, and he asked a question that is relevant.
Let's bring Matthew on. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So, Eric, this is for you, and thank you for everyone for having me on and everyone. But so since you worked in sports as well with the 49ers, I know some other teams as well, and just in the NFL, how did you deal with kind of a similar thing like Becca did?
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, I was gonna kind of jump on the back of what Becca was saying. One, great job, Becca, with you and your team. Definitely an unprecedented situation, and being a social media content creator in that sort of a moment is really hard, not something we all can relate to. Sports is weird like that. And we have, when you run social and sports, you have such a baked in advantage because you have so much content and so many passionate followers already. But then that comes with the flip side of, if things aren't going well, they like turn their ire against you, and like everything, like when things are going well, everything you do like turns to gold. And like it's really easy but also exciting to be like creative and fun, and like you can come up with a million ideas and test different things. When things aren't going well, whether it's like with the team or with like certain news stories around the team, like everything you do turns to shit. And like you're not allowed to do a lot of stuff internally. So it's a really weird place to be. And it's always like turned up to 11, no matter what's happening, like either the good or the bad. And again, it is like a baked in advantage, no offense, Nathan, but like Ramp doesn't have people that would care that much about any story around Ramp. But you have this other challenge of like, how do we get people to care about Ramp? Whereas, the 49ers, people have cared about that brand for their entire life. And now it's like, okay, well, how do we represent that to them in a way that they feel is worthy, but also grow it? So it's a totally unique thing. And there's those really big baked in advantages, but also really big disadvantages and challenges. And Becca was kind of describing one that obviously she went through that was pretty unprecedented. So good questions, good look kind of behind the curtain there.
Yeah.
Christina, do you want to hit
Well,
off with
you were talking, Eric, about like Nathan's maybe problem of trying to get people to care about a brand. And with AI now, as we all know, we couldn't have this session without talking about AI because it's been everywhere. AI slop. What are we doing about it? What's the balance between using it too much, being authentic with it? What's been helpful? What's been harmful? Like, what tools are you actually using to help your workflow? And now with also AI slop being everywhere, how do you stand out? What does that look like for all of you? I can start with Nathan.
Totally. Yeah, it's a problem. Hot take. It's a problem. I think like it's maybe everybody here is kind of like aware of it, but it is important to me to differentiate between a lot of like the generative AI stuff that we're seeing, which is mostly how social marketers and audiences interface with it, versus like a lot of the LLM kind of tooling stuff that companies may be using for engineering or kind of like research based stuff. Like I think they have different applications and they show up a lot differently in people's feeds. And I think the generative AI stuff is still very much in its slop era. Like even the best stuff that's being produced right now in mass is just really it's clearly just uncanny. There's ways I know, like with Ramp, like we have like a script we use for our Mid Journey account where it definitely it makes a lot of the content like a bit more or a bit less uncanny, I guess. It kind of like hones in on like certain design elements that make it feel cleaner. But even with that, I mean, it's limited in its use case. Like it's not like we can produce like a commercial with it where it feels real and has texture and all of that. So I don't know, like the new stuff that Google just released, like with VO, it's the craziest I've experimented with. But even that, like it's most of what I've seen people produce is just it has that uncanny vibe. So I think like for the very like edge cases for making stuff that is clearly like AI created in a way, like where people look at it and they're like, oh yeah, that's clearly a thing. Like maybe that can work in some cases. But I think the issue all these platforms have now is that they kind of market the new trends, like the Studio Ghibli thing with ChatGPT. It's like a trend will kind of emerge from these platforms. Everybody jumps on it. It becomes hot for like 2 days, and then it becomes very passe and kind of like cringe when you see it. So it's kind of like it's still so novel right now that I think people are just happy to experiment with it and just and play around. But I think there's kind of two worlds of it. There's like the tech world, which is very excited to experiment and see this stuff evolve very rapidly. And then there's a lot of people in the consumer world who look at it and for whatever concerns, like whether it's, you know, energy, environmental, or just like creative and artistic, like people obviously have a lot of concerns, rightfully so, over like how that will kind of like change our relationship to art and content as individuals. So yeah, I don't know how we get past it, but I do think, especially with this VO model that Google just put out, to me it's clear that in the next year, maybe year and a half tops, we will be at a place where these models are good enough to get past that uncanny valley. So then we'll have to really kind of wrestle with what that means for people that make content.
Yeah, I feel like we're in an era right now where nobody actually really knows. Like a lot of people can assume where it's going, but we can't actually fully grasp the depths of how AI will grow over the next few years. And it's like terrifying and exciting. It's helping our workflows a lot more. So Nycole, I'm curious to know like how AI maybe has helped your workflow and where you're seeing it kind of really aid in your workflow, but where you're seeing it also causing issues.
Yeah, I've really dug into AI this past year and I love it as like I think of it as like a partner in crime, kind of. You can kind of do some brainstorming in there. You know, you can drop in if you have copy and you need a few different versions. It really kind of helps, I think, open your mind a bit and really be that, you know, kind of sidekick that you need. And if you're writing LinkedIn posts and have awful grammar like I do, sometimes I just drop it in my post when it's done and off it goes. So I feel like it's super helpful there. One thing I feel like is, you know, kind of the more concerning part of AI, or the thing that'll be interesting to watch, is like AI influencers. And like Nathan was saying, like the new video from Google. It's just that our intention behind it is something I think about a lot. Like, are we purposely deceiving customers through an AI influencer, knowing like, are they really an influencer? Because they're not like influencing off of their, you know, actual opinions. It's really brand messaging. And, you know, even with like the Google videos, if you're creating something that is so specific, maybe to look like people who are customers or whatever the case is, like, are we, you know, what are those boundaries where we're not deceiving our customers and we're still trying to provide them value and information?
Yeah, the ethics of AI is something I feel like a lot of people need to be talking about. Like I know as a social media manager, a lot of people are using it. ChatGPT went down yesterday. I don't know if anybody was on LinkedIn when that happened, and people were freaking out. But then there was also this big group of people that were like, "I've never used AI. What do you mean? Like, I've never used it to write my content." So I don't know, it's a crazy time. I think someone said this in the comments. with all this AI slop also, it's actually becoming maybe easier to stand out and be authentic as a human online. So Becca, have you seen that? Like, have you seen with all this AI coming out and people using it a lot more, do you feel like it's actually easier to stand out for you when creating content?
Yeah, I do. And I kind of have like a different like side of like this conversation, the legal parts of it for us. So like really TikTok is really the only place that we really use AI because it's more accepted a little bit more when it comes to like the legality of what we can use, owned assets, things like that. Um, my my coworker and I were actually talking the other day about how two of our friends go to Chat GPT, individual friends go to Chat GPT for everything, and we're telling us like, you know, they ask for advice, they ask for this, they ask for that to Chat GPT, and it's their best friend, you know, at all times, and we were like, what? Like we were seriously like, is like in two separate situations, and we came together and we were like, this happened, and we were like, I can't believe this. For me, part of my people's growth is to strengthen their copywriting skills and their grammar skills and like all that kind of stuff. So like if ChatGPT helps you kind of learn that, we still have to be human to make our brand sound human and humanized. So like because we're really like covering human beings. So like that to me is very important, especially coming through this like this world since I was 22, like, you know, trying to figure out like what the voice of the brand is, what of to a couple different brands, like, you know, what the voice of the brand is, our Mavs off court, you know, channels and our Dallas Mavs shop and our Studio 41 and Dallas Mavs, like how do these differ? Like maybe they could help us there, but then like that kind of takes away from the person and what their job actually is and how they understand how to do the job. So for us, like we have to be very strategic how we use AI, but at the same time, like my challenge to my people is write this copy in our voice, you know? So like, unless they're 100% like, you know, on top of it, like sure, use Chat GPT, but, and I know my, one of my coordinators definitely uses it and, you know, it helps him with ideas and things like that. But for us, like, a couple more of us, like we really don't use it that much, and so it's going to be we looked at each other and we were like, maybe we should and see what happens and stuff like that. So we're kind of like entering into that world of like, how do we balance this and like let's get ourselves familiarized with it, because again, we are representing human beings on a daily basis, so we don't want anything to sound or look too automated.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges for sure. You're either like an AI optimist or an AI pessimist, but either one, you still have to adopt it regardless of whatever you believe. So it's like if you hate it, you're going to still have to use it. And if you love it, you better figure out a way to use it differently than everybody else is, basically. Yeah. Eric, what are your thoughts on AI?
I'm in a similar boat where I think, I mean, authenticity has always been something that matters on social media. Like it's always been something that people talk about. And that's, I think, where some of the, I guess, more unhinged content came from, where some of the more experimenting against your brand has come from on social. I think sometimes to, yeah, the detriment of brand identity and like consistency, but it's all under the like idea of like we want to feel like authentic. And obviously AI like is something that most consumers don't think is authentic AI created content. And it does seem like the content that is wholly created in AI only works when it's obvious, like Nathan was saying, or kind of a joke of like, you know, I think somebody in the chat posted this thing that Ritual, an ad that Ritual did with AI, but I think the drive of the ad is like, we're real, this is fake, you know? So we're kind of in that era where people are using it, but calling it out, or not using it and calling it out. I do agree with kind of Nathan's sentiment that once it starts getting better and better and better, like where does that leave us? Where it's like really hard to tell if it's fake or not. Where right now it's like, yeah, it's amazing, but there are kind of tells. But overall, I think authenticity will always be valued by consumers, and probably more so in a world where it's like more noisy and less authentic than ever. Nathan?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just want to add, not to defend the slop but it does feel like this is just the latest iteration of speed running slop. Because like you said, Eric, like the sort of the trend of things becoming a meme and things online in general becoming more accessible is it's just been happening since the internet. Like as people have gotten better access to video production tools and just like any kind of software that helps you edit and create, like we were all sharing the same 10 memes in 2010 of like, you know, the one does not simply do this or the Willy Wonka meme. It's like people have always, I think, gone for like the low hanging fruit when it comes to how to share things. It's just kind of how we operate culturally. And like, I think it also ties to what we were saying earlier about everybody wanting to be like Wendy's or Duolingo. It's like once a sort of archetype is introduced and becomes a playbook and then becomes really accessible for people, it's everybody's doing it. So even like before all the AI, I would say we were already in like a very intensive slop era of brands all sounding very similar and producing very similar things. We're just now in like a time where that's just being speed run kind of on like 3 or 4x, you know, and like it's getting exponential in terms of just the sameness and the kind of just uncanniness of all of it. So it is fun. It will be fun to see as marketers, like once the trend kind of boomerangs back into like trying to figure out ways to be authentic in that sea of sameness, which it does feel like it's hitting a boiling point.
Totally. Um, we covered some of this. I'll start with you, Nicole. But what has worked for you so far in the first half of the year on social and with the clients you're working with? And what are you looking to do more of in the second half of the year?
Yeah, definitely increased creator content, really diversifying creator content. I think a lot of people are still living in like a campaign by campaign moment, whereas we can be using creators every day, if you have the budget, of course. But you can be
Yeah.
using them for all different types of messaging, very evergreen. And I think something a lot of brands miss out on is not only using their channels, but creators can truly be like a core of your social media strategy, you know, really laddering into what you want to be talking about. If you're doing it right, hopefully most of them are customers. So really their customer stories, testimonials, all of that. So I think that continues to go really well. You just have to make sure you're telling unique and interesting stories and trying new things. You know, I think that will continue to grow. I think in terms of back half of the year, I'll be excited to see, you know, more expansion of social content and creation being used in other channels. That's a huge component of me, is really breaking social out of its silo. I think far too often social media teams are just seen as this like, oh, that's the social team and they'll make the social content, whereas they can be a true, you know, content hub, and they're really making what they understand customers want, and social listening and hearing the things customers want and need, and, you know, really just taking social kind of to the next level is what I'm hoping we continue to see build in companies this year.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, totally agree. I feel like social teams are just these content engines, and oftentimes their ideas, their content is limited to the feeds and like their own kind of feedback loops, whereas like paid ads, commercials, other forms of content that are helping generate awareness for the business are done like separately, like through agencies or other teams. And there's so much to be unlocked from your internal social content team because they think about content more often than anybody. Becca, what about you? What has worked so far for you this year on social, and what are you looking to do more of in the second half of the year with where things are going?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was a little bit, our circumstances, outward circumstances were a little bit different. So we kind of had to figure out what was working for us, which was obviously we couldn't be as creative. We had to be a little bit more stat based and fact based instead of fun or, you know, humanizing really. So what really, and also, but we also did do that. I mean, introducing our new players to the fans, that's what always works for us, no matter who it is. We even saw, you know, comments in the Lakers chats and things like that saying like they didn't introduce Luca like we introduced AD and Max and all that kind of stuff. So we stuck to our guns of what we know how to do, which is humanizing our players, but also like we had to jump off of X for a while. So like we had to kind of change our strategy. So like the first half of the year, honestly, we were quiet, and we had to kind of like really figure out how to, show up without being tone deaf, like I talked about. So the second half, which is going to, take off here in 2 weeks from today, I'm seeing us really dive back into our, more consistent posting, more of our identity, like I talked about, more of our voice, things like that. I know that's not like platform specific or anything like that, but that is what we're really looking forward to. And as well as like showing up for our fans and showing them, that things are going to get better and things like that. So that's really a focus of ours, as well as, just doing our jobs that we love, to the full of our, the full ability that we know how to do. I think we're all really, really excited to dive back into that.
Yeah, I just want to call out too, like with everything you're saying, Becca, it's clear that the consumer, the audience comes first, and you guys are so in tune with that audience. And that is what being, a social manager is all about. It's like
I'm the
knowing,
police.
yeah,
Like every caption, things like that. My whole team, will think of copy options. I love to have options of what we're, going to post that day or whatever for captions or anything. And I'm like, they're going to turn this around. We have to, they're going to make something out of something with this. So we have to think about it this way or, whatever. So it's a lot of strategic thinking.
totally. Nathan, what about you, especially in the world of B2B tech, where it feels like things move very quickly, obviously, from like an adoption side with technology and just, always on the cutting edge of different things. I feel like social is a new emphasis in B2B tech that, even in the last few years, more so than ever, there's a big push to have B2B feel like more B2C and get more creative and, understand that just because I'm a B2B tech buyer doesn't mean like I only want to be on LinkedIn or only want to be spoken to professionally. What have you seen working as things are changing quickly in that industry, and what are you looking to do more of the second half of the year?
Yeah, it is tricky because I mean, B2B SaaS, I mean, it's a meme online, like the whole, my wife just got in a car accident, and here's what that taught me about B2B SaaS, like that type of stuff. And it's like it's rightfully so, I think, because it's a intangible product. Like it doesn't have like a physical, packaging or object that is easy to kind of like personify, like a lot of consumer brands. And yeah, like I think a lot of the companies that I've seen in this space, Ramp included, like they've really the past year or so have just leaned heavy into just kind of like launch videos, like just trying to make everything into a moment. Like even if it's not really a moment, like you were saying, Eric, earlier, it's kind of hard. There's so much software out there. It's really hard to get people to care about it. It's not like a brand that people already love or like consume on like a daily basis. If they do consume it, it is either a part of their day that they hate or a part of their day that they're just kind of like eager to move past so they can kind of do the thing that they want to be doing. So we try to be mindful of that and like how we play in our messaging, like just showing up in ways that are kind of fun and like trying to center our customers as much as we can as the heroes of the dynamic, because we know that they're not like necessarily looking for like Ramp to be a hero in a lot of the content that we produce. But yeah, like just trying to create those moments. And one of the ways that we found success has been sort of just like these character skits that we've done a bit of that we're going to be exploring a lot more this summer. We're kind of building out like a little Ramp cinematic universe of like people that work for the company and like influencers that kind of partner with the company, and just like making more video content where we give them a little bit of like a stage to act as characters and interact with each other, in like a more high quality format, like and along a similar vein to like what Mohawk Chevrolet has done or like the Brooklyn Coffee Shop page has done, where I think it's hard to get like to break through the noise like in SaaS in general. Like in a lot of ways, it feels like it's kind of many steps behind the consumer brand world. So kind of there's an opportunity, I think, to do a bit more of like a higher production and like a higher skit value. That tends to be what kind of breaks through where people are like, oh, this isn't just like another, software animation of a product that like, isn't really real or isn't really something I can touch. Like they can feel and kind of connect to the people on the screen. So that's something we're playing more with.
That's great. Um, wow, time really flies during these conversations, doesn't it?
There's so much good content. It's like, oh, hope you're all taking notes.
I
Actually,
feel
you'll
like
get a live recording tomorrow, so it's fine.
I feel like there's a few questions in the Q&A that are kind of the same. Um, the the same category related to just like team building and structure. Why don't we bring Eric Ford on to ask his question? And this will probably be the last question of the webinar given the time.
Hello.
Hey, Eric.
Hi. Also, I got scared because I was like, I do not look camera ready. So I'm so glad it's just my voice because
That's your mic, yeah.
I was like, this is not the time. But I wanted to ask because I think we're all kind of having similar conversations about like what does a really great social media team looks like. And I was kind of going back of the post that you did, Eric, about Slate and the things that you're trying to do when it comes to growing the team. And I know a lot of people had a different like thoughts and opinions about what makes sense and what is important. So for me, it'll be good to understand like what does a really great social team look like? Because even in the thread now, we're talking about like what should be together, what shouldn't be together. Should it be its own thing? The trajectory of people working in social becoming CMOs. So there's so many different ways to go about it. So it'd be good just to hear that from those on the panel.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah,
Also, Eric, welcome back. He's a longtime Social Club attendee.
Thank you.
yeah, Eric, great to hear you again. Thanks for all the support and interactivity on these. Nycole, why don't we start with you on that one? As a consultant strategist, I feel like you have a bird's eye view of lots of different social teams. What's the right social team for you? What's the right structure? Is it under marketing? Is it under comms? Is it a content team? How do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually love this question. I was like, let me in here. So I have built in-house and agency teams for well over the past decade, and I've built very purposefully hybrid teams. I think that is where the opportunity is. I think when we talk about social getting a seat at the table or social being outside of a silo, to do that, social has to be more deeply connected with other components throughout the business, whether that's creating content, whether that's influencer. So the more hybrid you can make your teams, the better. And I really think a good team absolutely has to have, obviously, your social media managers, social listening. I think social listening is still not given the love and attention with full-time staffing that it deserves. Like you really need someone who gets it and who is really an analyst. A content creator would be great, someone who can help with like the quicker turn, super social stuff, that, or even if you have an agency. I know a lot of people mentioned influencer. I've actually been building hybrid influencer / social people. And no, that does not mean that you do one full social job and one full influencer job. I know it's the first thing people think about when they see two different types of roles for one person. But it works really well because if you think about it, where does influencer happen? On social. So you're going to be better at influencer if you understand channels, algorithms, behaviors, and you're going to be better at social if you understand really that way to connect with your audience, the creativity. So really thinking about social as this hub for building something bigger and being really kind of a storytelling department. So yeah, bring on, managers, creation, social listening, and definitely make sure influencers under there. I will also caveat, this means you need a strong leader and expert. I think far too many social teams are still just kind of, hiring very, very, fresh to the world employees. And I think if you really want to build something and you want to have this effect across multiple channels, you really need to make sure that you're leaning into expertise.
Amazing. That takes us to the end of the time. Cannot thank this expert panel enough for joining us on another social club. So the next chat will be July 9th. We try to do these the second Wednesday of every month, which everybody knows the second Wednesday is the best day to talk about social
Hump
at
day.
the same time. So we will be sending around emails and LinkedIn posts about the next panel shortly. But first, we'll send the recap of this one with a video with a few key points that we discussed over email. Yeah, it's been an awesome chat. Again, we could have filled probably 2 hours with this. We're going to have to do an in-person event at some time and just get everybody together to talk shop. But thank you, Nycole. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Becca. Thank you to my co-host, Christina. Thank you to everyone who jumped in and joined and was active in the chat. And we will see you on the next social club.
Have a good day, everybody. Good to see
Thanks,
you.
Pleasure.
everybody.
Thanks all.
Thank
Thanks, everybody.
you.